Welcome to part 2 of my top 50 NBA players. In part 1 we went over the 1 through 25 spots for my top NBA players for the upcoming season. In today's video we will go through 26 to 50 of my top NBA players. And if you haven't seen part 1, I'll leave a link in the description. Definitely go check it out. But before we get started, let me just say that 26 through 50 was definitely a lot harder than 1 through 25. I think we kind of have a general agreement on who is in the top 10, top 15, top 20 players, but after that it kind of gets a little blurry and a lot of people will have disagreements. So if you disagree with my 26 through 50 top NBA players for the upcoming season, definitely roast me in the comment section down below. But without further ado, let's get right into it. At number 26, I have DeMar DeRozan. And DeMar DeRozan is a player who we really haven't heard as much about since he left the Raptors. I mean, he's still the star player over in San Antonio, but as you know, the San Antonio Spurs didn't do so hot last season, and they haven't done so hot for the past couple years, but I think that this season will be a little bit different. They have LaMarcus Aldridge, they have DeMar DeRozan, and they have some nice role players like Derek White, other guys. DeJounte Murray is returning from injury, and I think that the Spurs will definitely be a playoff team in the West this season, led by DeMar DeRozan. At number 27, I have D'Angelo Russell. Recently traded to the Warriors, I think he's going to experience a bit of a different role with them. While in the past he has been a primary ball handler, and he did a great job of being the primary ball handler and kind of go-to guy while he was on the Brooklyn Nets, he will definitely have to take a step back for Stephen Curry. But with Klay Thompson and KD gone, Klay Thompson for this season, KD gone forever, I think that D'Angelo Russell will definitely have a bigger role than some people might expect for the Warriors this season, and I expect him to fit into the shooting guard role pretty well. At number 28, I put Kristaps Porzingis, and this is a guy who I think a lot of people forget about because he was injured last season, but before last season, Kristaps was absolutely tearing it up for the Knicks, and now that he's on the Mavs, I think that he'll have to share the spotlight a little bit more with Luka Doncic, but I still think that if he is healthy, he will be the go-to guy for the Mavs. Dude is a 7-foot sniper, he's insanely skilled, and like I said, his size at 7 foot is a huge advantage for him. If he can return healthy, Porzingis is a guy to look out for this season. At number 29, I have Mike Conley. And with his new team, the Utah Jazz, I think he is going to absolutely shine this year. In my opinion, this year's Utah Jazz team is better than any team he was on in Memphis. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but that is my opinion, and I think he's going to rack up a ton of assists this year. Mike Conley has been an underrated guy ever since he got into the league, and to be fair, he did play in Memphis, which isn't the biggest market team, and they also weren't the best team. So to be fair, it kind of makes sense that he was underrated or overlooked, but he is one of the most skilled guards in the NBA. Ball handling, passing, scoring, on the offensive end, he can do it all, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he finishes top 3 this year in assists in preseason so far. And I hate judging guys based off of preseason because it is just preseason, these games do not count, but in preseason his connection with Rudy Gobert has looked really nice. I think he's going to have a ton of lobs to Gobert, and I think he's also going to have a ton of kickouts to Joe Ingles, Bojan Bogdanovic, Donovan Mitchell. I just think there's so many weapons with Mike Conley this year. I think he's going to have a ton of assists, and I think he's really going to show out this season. At number 30, I put Zach LaVine, and this is a guy who ever since he was traded to the Bulls has absolutely shown out. We already know him as the dunk contest champion. A lot of people consider him the best dunker in the NBA. I'm not so sure about that, but I do think that he is an elite basketball player, especially on the offensive end. I would not be surprised at all. In fact, I almost expect him to average 25, 5, and 5 this season for the Bulls. And if the Bulls can make the playoffs in the East, which I don't think is too far of a stretch, I think a lot of people could be considering Zach LaVine one of the better players in the NBA after this season. Next up, at number 31, I put Andre Drummond. And I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like Andre Drummond has been in the league a lot longer than he actually has. He's still pretty young, fairly young, at age 26. I tend to think he's more the age of like James Harden, Russell Westbrook, like closer to 29 or 30. But in reality, he's the same age as Anthony Davis. And as you know, if you watch basketball, dude is one of the best rebounders in the league. A couple seasons ago, he put up like 520 rebound games in a row or something ridiculous. And this season, I expect no less. I expect him to be dominant on the boards, and I think that him and Blake Griffin will make up one of the better front courts in the NBA. At number 32, I have LaMarcus Aldridge, and even though he is getting older, he is getting up there in age, I think he is still a very good player. He's one of the best mid-range players in the NBA, along with, ironically, his Spurs teammate DeMar DeRozan. I think they might be the two best mid-range players in the NBA. And like I said, a lot of people have forgotten about DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge since they went to the Spurs, because the Spurs just haven't had as much success as we expect them to, especially in recent years. But this season, I expect that to change with the new players that they have added, as well as players that they have coming back. I expect LaMarcus Aldridge to put up some good numbers this season. At number 33, I have Draymond Green. And while his offensive skills are limited, his defensive value is premium. Dude can guard post players and guards, and he can guard them at an elite level. Defensively, one of the best players in the NBA. We already know this. He's won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards. Has he won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards? I think he's won 2. He might have only won 1, but he's won at least 1. And we all know that he's one of the best defenders in the NBA. Like I said, while his offensive skills are limited, his defensive value adds a ton to a team. Next up, at number 34, I have De'Aaron Fox. And De'Aaron Fox is a guy who started turning heads when he brought this Kings team to start looking like a legit team for the first time in 10 years. Him, along with Buddy Hield, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Marvin Bagley, their other young players. The Kings are looking really nice right now, and De'Aaron Fox is the leader of that team. He's an elite scorer, an elite defender, an elite passer. Dude is kind of a do-it-all point guard, and I think that he will only get better as time goes on. At 35, I put Kevin Love, and I feel like I just didn't want him to get overlooked because he plays on a terrible team with the Cavs. But Kevin Love is still one of the better rebounding bigs. Even though he isn't one of the biggest guys, dude is still an elite rebounder. He's a great passer for a big man. I think that's one of the underrated aspects of his game. And obviously, he's one of the better stretch bigs in the NBA. He can pull it from anywhere. Elite catch and shoot guy. But like I said, I just didn't want him to get overlooked because he was playing on a terrible team. Next up, at number 36, I have Luka Doncic. He's coming off of a Rookie of the Year award, and he also, in his rookie year, led this Mavs team. He was obviously the star player all season long, and I don't expect that to change, except maybe a little bit because Kristaps Porzingis is there, and I did put Kristaps Porzingis above him on this list. So, if you disagree with me there, let me know, but I think Luka Doncic is only going to improve. I think that he was the best player coming out of the draft, even above DeAndre Ayton, but that's none of my business. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but I think that Luka Doncic ultimately is going to have a great career, and I think that he only improves from here. At number 37, I have the guy who came in second to Luka Doncic in the Rookie of the Year campaign, and that is Trae Young. Now, Trae Young, one of the best scoring guys in the NBA, or one of the best scoring point guards in the NBA already. I think he will be this season, even though it is only his second season. Obviously, there's a couple guys who are better scorers than him probably. I'm not going to come out here and say he's the best, but he has put himself in that conversation after an elite rookie season. He is also one of the better passers in the NBA, and I think that him and John Collins are one of the more exciting young duos in the NBA right now. I expect the Hawks to actually do pretty well, and I think that they are building a very nice young core, and they will be scary in the East in a few years. At number 38, I have Steven Adams. And in my opinion, Steven Adams is one of the more underappreciated guys in the NBA. I think that with Russell Westbrook on his team, he didn't put up the numbers that he was capable of, but that is to be expected with any guy that plays with Russell Westbrook. Everybody who leaves Russell Westbrook automatically does better. Again, none of my business, and that's for another video, but Victor Oladipo, KD, all these guys are happier. They do better without Russell Westbrook. But Steven Adams, one of the better bigs in the NBA. I think he's an elite defender at the big position, especially in the paint. Actually, only in the paint. One of the elite post defenders in the NBA, one of the best rebounders in the NBA, and I think that he will actually get his scoring up this season as well, probably being the best player on the Thunder this season. But like I said, I just think he's underappreciated, so at number 38, Steven Adams. At number 39, I have Tobias Harris, and he may just be the best third option in the NBA. Now, I think that his talents might be a little bit overlooked by Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons because they will be getting the majority of the touches, the majority of the opportunities to score, but I think that Tobias Harris, like I said, may just be the best third option in the NBA. He is a very skilled offensive player. He's got great size, and he's not too bad on the defensive end either. I think he fits in very good with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and I look forward to watching him this season. At number 40, we have Jamal Murray, and he's a guy who I think really started to prove himself last season. He kind of put himself in the conversation with the top guards in the NBA, and even though he is a second option to Nikola Jokic, or maybe not a second option, he might even be like the first offensive option, but just, a second star to Nikola Jokic, I think that he is still one of the better guards in the NBA. While his defense isn't that great, his offense, his scoring is very good, and I look forward to watching the Nuggets this season with the dynamic players that they have. Next up, at number 41, I have Julius Randle, and a lot of people were clowning the Knicks this offseason for having Julius Randle be their best player that they signed, which is fair. I mean, they claimed they were getting Kyrie, KD, everybody pretty much, but Julius Randle is no scrub. I think that he is a very underrated player, and I think that the problem with him so far is that he's just played on bad teams so far in his career, which I don't think will change this season because I think the Knicks will be very bad. But I also think that Julius Randle will put up some big numbers. He's a very good offensive player. He's kind of like a point forward type of player. He likes to run the offense, which can sometimes be a problem for him. But like I said, dude is a very talented player, and I think that if he eventually gets onto a good team, he will be able to show that. At number 42, we have Buddy Hield, and this is a guy who last season was in the conversation for most improved player. Obviously, it went to Pascal Siakam, but dude was in the conversation. Some even said he should have won it. He was the second place guy behind Pascal Siakam, but I think that he has proven that he belongs in the NBA. He was one of the oldest rookies drafted into the NBA. I think he was the oldest in his draft class. He was like 24, 25 when he got drafted, but he's proved that that experience, those extra years in college, definitely helped him. He's one of the best shooters in the NBA. He's one of the hardest workers in the NBA, and I think that Buddy Hield is only going to prove that even more this season. At number 43, I put Kyle Lowry, the point guard of my favorite team, the Toronto Raptors, and the guy who has been doubted the past couple years, or really his whole career, for his lack of production in the playoffs. Well, this past season, he proved that he could produce in the playoffs and help the Raptors win an NBA championship. And while I think his time being a top 50 player is slowly coming to an end, I really think that he will have another good season with the Raptors this season. Even though Kawhi has left, I think that he will score a good amount of points, he will get a good amount of assists, and he's just kind of a good do-it-all point guard. So, number 43, Kyle Lowry. At number 44, I have Aaron Gordon, and this is a guy who I think was robbed in the dunk contest by Zach LaVine, but not to get off on another tangent, that is also for another video. But like I said, one of the best dunkers in the NBA, and I think that he is a lot more than a dunker as well. One of the better defensive players in the NBA just because of his explosiveness, just because of his length, his athleticism. He's able to defend bigger guys and smaller guys pretty well. He's just a kind of solid all-around defender, and on the offensive end, he can do more than dunk. He's kind of shown a three-point shot, and even though it's not consistent, he will pull it if he's open. He's also proven that he can be a kind of slasher at the power forward position, and even though he plays for a trash Magic team, I think that he will put up some good numbers this season, and I think that he'll show that he is a good player in the NBA. At number 45, I have John Collins, and like I said when I was talking about Trae Young, I think that him and Trae Young are one of the more exciting young duos in the NBA, and I think that as time goes on, they could even be the most exciting duo. The lobs that he catches from Trae Young are absolutely crazy. Dude is one of the most athletic post players in the league right now, and I think that he is only going to get better. Him and Trae Young and the young core for the Atlanta Hawks, I think that they are going to be scary in a few years, like I said before, but John Collins is just a solid all-around guy. Good offense, good defense, and I think that as he improves his offensive skills a little bit more, he could jump to possibly a top 25 player in the NBA in the next season or two. At number 46, I have Dennis Smith Jr., and I think that he, along with Julius Randle, will put up the most numbers for the Knicks, and even though the Knicks, I don't think will be a playoff team this season, I think that Dennis Smith and Julius Randle could actually make watching the Knicks not that bad, like it has been in past years. But Dennis Smith Jr., one of the best athletic point guards of the NBA in terms of dunking, in terms of slashing, reminds me a lot of Russell Westbrook, and I think that if he can develop a more consistent jump shot, he can make better decisions as a point guard, less turnovers, better passing. I think that he could actually be one of the better point guards in the NBA in the future. At number 47, I have Chris Middleton, and I know that some people might question me having him this low on the list, but in my opinion, he just hasn't proven to me that he is higher on this list. Now, while I think that he is definitely more skilled than some of the guys above him, he just doesn't produce the same as some of the guys above him. He doesn't take the same role as some of the guys above him, so I think that some guys are more important to their teams than he is. Not saying that he is not important to the Bucks, because he definitely is. As a second option to Giannis, he definitely is very important to the Bucks, but his production just doesn't justify him being higher than that on this list. So even though I think Chris Middleton is a very fantastic player, he is at number 47 on my list. At number 48, we have a guy who I think is one of the more underrated players in the NBA, and that is Gary Harris. He is one of the better two-way perimeter defenders in the NBA, an elite 3-and-D guy for the Nuggets, and I think that on the Nuggets, he is the most overlooked player on that team. Now, he isn't crazy good offensively. He can't really create his own shot consistently, but like I said, 3-and-D, elite player, and I think that if he can develop more of an ability to create his own shot, he could be deadly in the years to come. At number 49, I have Jaren Jackson Jr., and I think that with Marc Gasol gone, with Mike Conley gone, with this new look Grizzlies team in place, I think that Jaren Jackson will really shine this season, and I think that next season he could definitely be higher than the number 49 spot on my list. I think that the pair of him and Ja Morant will be an exciting young duo. I know I said that Trae Young and John Collins is right now my favorite young duo, but I think that Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson, if they can get their chemistry down, could maybe be my new favorite young duo in the NBA. But like I said, I expect big things from Jaren Jackson Jr. this season. And the moment you all have been waiting for, number 50. Ooh, you know I had to do it to you. You know I had to put him on this list. At number 50, we have Zion Williamson. Now, I am not a fan of people ranking rookies before they have played an NBA game, but dude, I just had to do it to him. I had to put Zion on this list. So far from what we've seen in preseason, and I hate judging people off of preseason, but what we've seen off of preseason so far, Zion has proved that he will probably average at minimum 15 points per game this season, 15, 7 rebounds at minimum. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a 20-point per game scorer, but at the same time, I'm not going to expect that of him because there are a lot of good players on the Pelicans. But Zion Williamson has proved that he belongs in the NBA. He has proved that the hype was real. So, number 50, Zion Williamson. Please leave your thoughts on the second half of my list, 26 through 50. If you agreed with me, let me know. If you disagreed with me, go ahead and cook me in the comment section down below. If you want to see more NBA videos, please like and subscribe and comment your suggestions for future videos. And if you haven't seen part 1, I will leave a link in the description down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.